The house on Blackthorn Street had been abandoned for decades, its grandeur and beauty slowly being consumed by the passing of time. It was a place where people whispered of restless spirits and unexplained occurrences, where the fabric of reality seemed to thin out, allowing glimpses into the unknown. The interior of the house was musty and cold, filled with the scent of decay and forgotten memories. We set up our equipment in the dining room, the large wooden table at its center becoming our focal point. The air was heavy with anticipation as we formed a circle, hands clasped together in a symbol of unity and courage. As the séance began, an unsettling feeling crept over me, like something was watching us from just out of sight, its presence making the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. Despite the initial skepticism, our voices grew more urgent, more heartfelt, as we called out to the spirits, asking them to make their presence known. And then, without warning, the room plunged into darkness. The candles extinguished, the air grew colder, and an inhuman, primal scream pierced the night, making my blood run cold. It was a sound that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at the same time, a sound that was both impossible and horrifyingly real. When the lights flickered back to life, we were not alone. A figure stood among us, its presence twisted and corrupted, like it had been birthed from our deepest, darkest fears. It was inhuman, impossible, yet undeniably real, its eyes burning with an otherworldly intensity. The thing began to move, its movements unnatural, like it was learning to walk for the first time, each step feeling like a betrayal of the natural order. It was as if our reality was being warped, stretched to accommodate this entity from beyond, the very fabric of our world tearing apart at the seams. It reached out, a hand that was almost but not quite a hand, towards one of my friends. The touch was gentle, yet it seemed to cause a profound impact, my friend's eyes glazing over as if their soul was being pulled out, leaving behind the shell of what once was. Panic set in as we tried to intervene, but it was too late. The entity began to change, its form shifting and flowing like a liquid, enveloping my friends one by one, each disappearance more terrifying than the last, leaving me alone and defenseless. I tried to run, but my feet felt rooted to the spot, unable to move or escape the horror that was unfolding before me. The last thing I saw was the entity, now a mass of swirling, inhuman shapes, reaching out for me, its presence filling my entire field of vision. And then, there was nothing. No light, no sound, just an endless, crawling void that seemed to have no end. I was consumed by the feeling of being completely and utterly alone, the last human soul in a world that had been invaded by an inhuman presence. When consciousness returned, I found myself back in my bed, the séance just a distant, horrific memory. But something was wrong, a feeling that lingered, a crawling sense of dread that I had brought something back with me, something that did not belong in our world. As the days passed, strange occurrences began to plague me. Doors would slam shut on their own, and I would hear whispers in the night, whispers that seemed to come from all around me, echoing off the walls. It was as if the entity had followed me back, was waiting for me, patiently, in the shadows. And then, the visions started. Glimpses of a world not our own, a world of eternal darkness and twisted, inhuman forms. I saw the entity, watching me, waiting for me to join it in its realm, a realm that seemed to exist just beyond the edge of our reality. The last thing I remember is the feeling of falling, of being pulled downwards into an abyss from which there was no return, the entity's presence enveloping me, welcoming me home. They found me weeks later, curled up in a ball, my mind shattered by the horrors I had witnessed and experienced. The house on Blackthorn Street was never seen again, as if it had vanished into the very fabric of reality it had threatened to unravel. But sometimes, in the dead of night, when the world is quiet and the shadows are long, I can feel it. The entity, watching, waiting. And I know that one day, it will come for me again, to take me back to the place where horrors beyond human comprehension wait. And when that day comes, I will not be afraid, for I will have finally found what I have been searching for all along, a door back to the abyss, a return to the void, where the only truth is terror, and the only comfort is the embrace of the inhuman darkness.